Hello, I'm Neha Gupta, a PhD student at Stanford University, and today I'm going to talk about our work on active local learning. This is joint work with Artus Backers and Avram Blum from TTIC. The setting that we consider is the following: that we have lots of unlabeled data, but it is expensive to obtain their corresponding labels. And the goal is to learn useful information from the data with very few label queries, a number which is insufficient to learn the best predictor in the class. The specific problems that we look at in this setting are active local learning and error estimation. I will start with a brief motivating example for our problem of active local learning. So consider that we have a set of unlabeled data sampled from some distribution. For this setting, we can think of the unlabeled data points as patients who had a certain medical procedure performed on them. And the label corresponds to the output of the medical procedure. Note that in this case, obtaining any label is expensive because that is patient's private information. And now we are given a new test point and we would like to predict its label with very few label queries. Note that in this case, we cannot directly query the label of the test point because that corresponds to the output of performing the medical procedure on that patient. As shown in the figure, we would like to predict the label with very few label queries. Now I'll describe the setup more formally. We can sample a set S from some distribution D, which is unlabeled, and then we have query access to labels for the samples in S. And the goal is to implicitly construct a function f tilde such that it satisfies the following three requirements. First, it should belong to the function class that we are looking at. Second, it should be nearly optimal, meaning that the error of the function f tilde with respect to the distribution D should be close to the error of the optimal function in that class with respect to the same distribution. And number three, that for any test point x, we should be able to compute the prediction f tilde x by making very few label queries to the set S of unlabeled data that we have. And ideally, it should be independent of the complexity of the function class that we are looking at. The second problem that we are looking at is error estimation. Here we are in the same active setting that we can sample a set S of unlabeled data points from some distribution D, and then we have query access to labels for the samples in S, and then we would like to estimate the error of the best function in the class with very few label queries to S. There have been few previous works on error estimation. The work of Kong and Valiant looked at estimating learnability or error estimation for linear functions in the passive setting. They showed that it is possible to estimate the error with few samples as those required for learning. The work by Blum and Hu looked at error estimation for the class of union of D intervals in the active setting, the same setting that we are looking at, and they showed that it is possible to estimate the error with number of label queries, which is independent of D, which determines the complexity of this class. Also, this is related to property testing, which is widely studied in theoretical computer science community. We consider the class of L-Lipschitz functions whose complexity depends on L, and we give algorithms for local learning and error estimation with label queries independent of L. For the sake of this talk, I'll only discuss the one-dimensional results. Again, we consider the class of L-Lipschitz functions with domain 0, 1, range 0, 1, and then our distribution is also bounded over domain and range 0, 1. And then we show that we need to sample a set S of size L times poly 1 over epsilon unlabeled samples. And then for any test point prediction, we only need to query very few labels, that is poly 1 over epsilon. Note that this is independent of L, which is what we required. For the problem of error estimation, again for the same L-Lipschitz functions, we show that we need to sample L times poly 1 over epsilon unlabeled samples, and then we can estimate the error of the best function in the class with very few label queries, that is poly 1 over epsilon. And note that this is a straightforward consequence of active local learning because once we have an algorithm for active local learning, we can sample 1 over epsilon squared unlabeled samples from the distribution, query their labels, and then compute the predictions corresponding to the active local learning algorithm. And then we can compute the average error to estimate the quantity that we need to estimate. The challenge that we have in implementing such a scheme is that the function being Lipschitz is a global constraint on the function. If we did not have such a global constraint, if we only required the function to be Lipschitz in small disjoint intervals, then for any test point prediction, we could query the labels inside the interval into which the test point belongs, as shown in the figure. To overcome this issue, we create alternating long and short partitions with a random offset, as shown in the figure. I'll describe the overall algorithm now. We first start with the pre-processing step where, as I just mentioned, first we partition the 0-1 interval into alternating long and short intervals with a random offset. The long intervals are of length 1 over L epsilon and the short intervals are of length 1 over L. Then we sample a set S of size L times poly 1 over epsilon unlabeled samples from the distribution. Now we use different prediction strategies depending on whether the test point X belongs to a long interval or a short interval. First, consider the case where the query point X belongs to a long interval. In this case, we query the labels of the samples in S which belong to this interval, and then we learn the function which minimizes the empirical error restricted to that interval. If a query point X lies in a short interval, we query the labels of the samples in S which belong to the neighboring two intervals, and then we learn the function minimizing empirical error for both intervals. Note that here, these EINs are over the class of Lipschitz function restricted to these small intervals. Now we do a linear interpolation and output the corresponding prediction. So overall, the algorithm is this. We first do a pre-processing step where we divide into alternating long and short intervals. Then we sample some unlabeled data and then use different prediction strategies depending on whether a query point X belongs to a long interval or a short interval. Now I'll briefly describe why this scheme works. If you recall that there were three important requirements to satisfy active local learning guarantees. First, the function should be Lipschitz. Second, it should be nearly optimal. And third, it should only require very few label queries for each test point prediction. First, I'll explain why the function is Lipschitz. Note the function is Lipschitz in long intervals by construction because we were learning the ERM function restricted to that interval and also forcing it to be Lipschitz. For the short intervals, we were doing a linear interpolation. Note that the linear interpolation would also be L Lipschitz because the length of the interval is 1 over L and the function values are bounded between 0 and 1. This completes the proof that the function is Lipschitz. Now we'll prove that the function is nearly optimal. Recall the definition of being nearly optimal, that the error of the function f tilde should be close to the error of the best function in the class. We'll denote these two errors by expectation of error of f tilde and expectation of error of f star. To bound the total error, we first divide the error into two parts, the error over short intervals and error over long intervals, and we'll consider these two separately. First, I'll show why the error over short intervals is bounded. We can write the difference of error of f tilde and f star by the maximum difference of error at any point times the total probability of belonging to these short intervals. We get a bound of 1 on this maximum error at any point because the function values are bounded between 0 and 1. And for the second part, the probability of belonging to the short intervals, consider first the case of uniform distribution. In the uniform distribution case, since we know that these intervals have length 1 over L, the probability of X belonging to each interval is 1 over L. And since there are a total of L epsilon intervals, we get a bound on this term as 1 over L times L epsilon. And the case for arbitrary distribution holds because we are choosing these offsets, the partitions, randomly. And overall, we get a bound of epsilon on the overall error contribution from the short intervals. For the long intervals, we further divide them into two parts. The long intervals which have small probability and the long intervals which have large probability, and we'll bound these two separately. For the long intervals which have small probability, again, we can do a similar analysis as we did for the case of short intervals. We can bound the maximum error at any point and the total probability of lying in these intervals, and the total probability is small by the definition of these intervals. Now we consider the case for long intervals which have large probability, and we'll do this proof in two steps. First, since recall that we were sampling a set S of size L times poly 1 over epsilon unlabeled samples, and since each of these intervals has length 1 over L epsilon, each of these long intervals having large probability would have poly 1 over epsilon samples with high probability. We'll not consider the case here where this event fails, but that can also be bounded. That can also be shown to be of small probability. Now, the complexity of L Lipschitz functions restricted to domain of length L is L capital L, which is the Lipschitz constant, times small l, which is the domain length, times poly 1 over epsilon. And since large intervals have length 1 over capital L epsilon, the total complexity of functions restricted to large intervals is poly 1 over epsilon. Since these intervals have poly 1 over epsilon samples and their complexity is also bounded by poly 1 over epsilon, we know that uniform convergence holds restricted to this interval. And therefore, we get that the error of function f tilde is close to the error of the function f star because the function f tilde was the ERM restricted to that interval. So this completes the proof that the function is nearly optimal after combining the error from the short intervals and the error contribution from the long intervals. Now we need to prove the third condition, that we should be able to output each prediction with very few label queries. If you recall the algorithm, we were adopting different prediction strategies depending on whether the point x belongs to a long interval or a short interval. For the long interval, we were querying labels inside the interval, and for short intervals, we were querying labels inside the neighboring long intervals. But as we just saw, that each of the long intervals only requires poly 1 over epsilon unlabeled samples, and hence for each prediction, we would only need to query poly 1 over epsilon labels. And this proves that we only need to make very few label queries for each test point prediction. So this completes the proof that completes a proof for active local learning that the following scheme works. We also extend these results to more than one-dimensional Lipschitz functions and give algorithms for active local learning and error estimation. And these results are mentioned in the paper. We also give an algorithm for error estimation for Nadarai-Watson kernel estimator, which is again mentioned in the paper. So takeaway, we considered two tasks, active local learning and error estimation, and we showed that these can be done with very few label queries, a number which is insufficient to learn the best predictor in the class. Are there other interesting and useful problems that we can still do when we don't have enough labels to learn the best predictor? Thank you.